So when you cut the cord basically from steady uh, income with the practice and you went out on your own, did you start up your own spot from day one as a physical therapy facility that offered strength training, or the other way around, it was strength training that you had specialty in physical therapy? What was your business model, your vision for that facility?
Yeah. So when I first so instead of just cutting the cord 100% with the clinic, I went down to 30 hours a week. I just
Okay.
thought,
Okay.
what, I'm going to go to
Smart.
30 hours a week. So I work, 8 to, 1 or something like that. And then I would go and I would see clients in the evenings at the gym.
Gotcha.
And really my life kind of went full circle. Because the guy that I was working with before, when I worked at the small kind of boutique gym before PT school, is the guy. He's still owned that same gym 20 something years later. He's kind of he's older than me. He's always kind of a big brother type, real sharp guy, real smart guy, a good business guy. Um, After all those years, he grew his business some, but he ended up getting into commercial real estate and he bought the whole building and just in a couple of buildings next to it. So I reached out to Scott and said, "Hey, I've got, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking. I want to maybe change, career slightly." He said, "Well, I've got an extra building in the back we used to use for group fitness, and there was a Krav Maga guy that rented it out for a little while. I think COVID kind of put a damper on some of that." He said, he's like, "I'm not even going to charge you anything in the beginning. Just come in, just bring some clients." And so I bought a squat rack, built a platform, I bought some weights, just made a little investment in it. Started with one rack and then just kind of, then I bought another rack and then I bought another rack and just kind of slowly built it up. And so that was in February of 2021. And then by August, I just thought, in my mind, I just thought there'll be a day that I know I'm ready to just leave the clinic 100% and just jump ship. But, you can't, if your comfort is just not going to let you take risks. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
like, if you just stay comfortable financially, um, whatever, right? Like confidence, that's not a wrong answer, but it's taken away. If you have a goal, it's taken away from your goal, whether you realize it or not. You
Yep.
just got to kind of put yourself out there and be okay with some uncertainty. And so I remember I was on vacation with my family and I was like, I remember on that vacation, I made my decision, and which was tough for me because I'd been at that clinic for a long time, and just, and there's a little ego there. I felt like I was somebody that I got to know the doctors there, and I just somebody that I wanted. They knew they could rely on me,
Hmm.
like I had to market myself to all those docs, and they were like, "Hey, I want either Jeremy or a couple of my other buddies that were really good to see this patient." It's kind of tough case.
Hmm.
So I'm walking away from all that to like just standing alone in a room by myself with a few clients, and
Yeah.
but it's worked out. I think that,
And
you
how
got
many how many clients did you have at that point, the tipping point?
I had luckily Scott was able to, so everything around Memphis at least in Tennessee was starting to open back up a little bit with COVID. And so he started getting some people that were interested in his gym, but he didn't have trainers to send them to. So he would send some of them to me. But I started out with maybe three or four, right? And
Hmm.
like all my pre-existing clients, and then like the daughter of one of my clients, and then the wife of one of the other clients, and then Scott, luckily was able to send me a few clients as well. That's when I started getting into group stuff at that point because I had a finite amount of hours that
Right.
I dedicate towards the gym. And so time was kind of a commodity. So that's when I liked the groups okay. I didn't like the time of day I was working at because as a
Right.
person, like you're working till 8 o'clock at night. And I knew I would never be able to shift my schedule to in the mornings until I wasn't working in the clinic anymore. And so that was another driving force for me to get out of the clinic. And I'm a
Right.
morning
And
person too.
you
I'm
said
not,
you started out with three or four. Roughly how many did you work up to before you were like, I've got to do this full
Oh yeah.
time to break out?
So I had the three or four I had were still the one-on-ones, right? They
Hmm.
were one-on-one folks. And so I ended up, oh man, I probably had like 15, probably
Okay.
something in
And
there.
just roughly, if you even remember back to then, what were your prices at that point in time?
So the first time I ever, when that client that first day ever, when he first said, "Hey, Jeremy, what do you think about, doing my training with me?" That's when I really started thinking about pricing. And I thought, I knew what I could make working, PRN or working like weekend work in a hospital or something if I wanted it. And I started thinking, okay, what is a price that is worth time away from my family,
Mm,
and just the extra hours that I'm putting in. And honestly, $50 an hour ain't friggin' worth it,
right. Right.
And like, so I was like $100, which I was nervous to say
Yeah.
because, but he was like, okay, sure. So, but then I was like, man, I should have said $120.
And what are your, well, that leads to the next question. What are your prices now for your 4 years in? Have you
So
changed your pricing at all?
yeah. So yeah, I have. One of the early things that I did, which again I learned from the podcast and Matt Reynolds talking about it, was, it's going to be important, as soon as you can move to a flat rate, move to a flat rate. The flat
Mm,
rate saved my life, really.
mm,
Because I mean, if you think about it, I was able to raise my prices without raising my prices.
mm.
You know what I mean? So like
Yep.
if somebody's paying per session $100 at a time. Well, like my client I've got, he's a big UT football fan, University of Tennessee football fan. And so that's on the other side of the state. And so during football season, he's gone every weekend. And so that was like be a huge revenue loss for me.
Yep.
So I just said, "Hey, Bob, what do you think about if we go to a flat rate?" And he's somebody that wants to see me succeed, and we've got a really good relationship. And he said, "No problem." And so I went to a flat rate. So now just my average price per hour has gone up significantly. So, before, I mean, I never calculated it, but at $100 a session, I mean, you could do the math. I can't, not good at math off the top of my head, but if you're missing three or four, if you're supposed to do 3 times a week at $100 a pop and you're missing 4 sessions a month, what is that? That an average $100 an hour,
Yeah.
Like, if you just say, hey, I mean, honestly, I just said, hey, what do you think about $1,300 a month? And he said, sure. And so,
1,300 a month.
yeah.
Wow.
And so that averages, I mean, around $100. I think maybe just
Right.
give or
It's
take somewhere in there,
three
somewhere in that
three
range.
1 hour sessions a week.
Well, to get to get the number right, like
Yeah.
I did it off of 52 weeks in a year. And to get the number right, sometimes you got to fudge the monthly number, which makes your per session number kind of weird. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but
And do you coach using Turnkey Coach? Do you offer online or coaching online as well, or do you maintain the if somebody leaves for that stretch of time? Are you still coaching them when they're not physically face to
yeah,
face?
for sure. So,
Different rate for that?
so yes. So, all right. So if it's somebody that I'm seeing in the gym, like just in the clinic or in the gym, and they're out of town. So I've got a lady that her kids live in California. And so
Hmm.
she would go out there a month, 2 months at a time. And, from my standpoint, I'm like, man, like I can't just continue to charge this lady when she's gone for a month,
Yeah.
which, uh, and she's a very sweet lady that's, again, wants to see the business succeed. She's a business person herself. She had been the CEO of a company before. She's retired now. Uh, so I think, a little tangential, but forming those relationships is important because, like, I think it's a way these clients look at your business as an investment without being some angel investor. They're an investor, is the way they
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
So having that relationship there with them and just being honest with them. And like, I let them help me make decisions with the business because like these clients have been successful in their own professions for 30 or 40 years. Like, I mean, Bob, he's a dermatologist, but he's owned his own practice since the early 70s. And like,
Right.
I mean, when it comes to just just fundamental cash flow things and just bouncing ideas off of them. I mean, it makes them feel like they're a part of the team, So it
And do
makes it
you have a offering that integrates physical therapy, or is that its own kind of standalone thing that you're managing side by side? That yes, they sort of feed into each other, but how does physical therapy integrate with your gym
right.
if at all?
No, it does. So we're in network with Medicare and Blue Cross because as far as just per patient, they reimburse, at least in Tennessee, the best. Like Aetna and some of them just, I mean, I think our reimbursement on Aetna is like $50, which is not good, whereas like Medicare, Blue Cross, we may get $100, $105, comparable to what I would try to get per hour for one-on-one coaching.
Mhm.
So we do have, and over the years, I was able to get my friend, his name's Andrew as well. He and I graduated PT school together, and we used to work in the orthopedic clinic together. And he was the director. He ended up leaving and was the director at a couple of other clinics for a number of years. But he's joined me, and I let him kind of take over the traditional PT, the insurance based PT, Medicare, the Blue Cross stuff. We do offer a cash component, which we're still trying to get that off the ground a little bit. I've got some opinions on kind of why that's a little bit of a slow ramp up on that. Um, but there's certain regulations you've got to be careful of as a PT working with cash, So like we can't, as a PT, we can't opt out. Like I can choose not to be in network with Medicare, but I can't opt out of Medicare. Like a physician can opt out of Medicare.
Hmm.
That's why I don't know well in your area of the country, but in my area, you get these concierge physicians, they
Hmm.
cash-based physician practice. They can see patients that even have that patient can have Medicare and they can still say, "Hey, it's $100 to come see me." I can't do that. Like I can't
Hmm.
charge technically Medicare patients, even if I'm not in network with Medicare, I can't charge them cash for physical therapy services. I can charge them cash for wellness.
Yeah, what is the where's the tipping point? I have this conversation a lot with physical therapists. I've heard different answers to this, but I'm curious, where would you draw the line between we're just getting you stronger and this is physical therapy?
Yeah, I mean it's gray. I mean you have your gray spots. I mean, if
The
it's
answer I've
somebody
been
that's
given so far is
functioning,
diagnosis. Like if you're actually
oh
diagnosing
yeah,
something, that's like a major tipping point.
it is.
Um, Putting your hands on somebody for any kind of manual
It
therapy.
is, but like that is with the hands on putting your hands on somebody. I've got like one of my clients now. He's 82 years old, super super nice guy, super motivated guy. 3 days a week, I'm seeing him. He's got Parkinson's. He's not, it's not advanced, but he's got it. He's got a total shoulder on his right shoulder. He's got a kind of a bum knee. So obviously he's not going to be overhead, but he deadlifts, he squats with a safety bar.
Hmm.
Uh, I'll have him do like a bench press on a 30-degree angle as a supplement to the overhead press. And then I'll even push it to a 45, which is tough. If I go to a 45-degree angle on an incline bench, I've got to stretch that shoulder out. He can't just do that cold.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really, I mean, again, it would be a nice conversation to have another PT on here and kind of debate a little.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that, for him to be able to get the bar back and not out in front of him,
yeah.
um, you may have to give a little overpressure. So I think like if we're going to stretch his hamstrings or something too, like, I
Sure.
mean, again, I don't really buy if I put my hands on somebody, I'm doing PT. Are they functionally limited? Am I doing it so he can put his suitcase into an overhead bin on an airplane? Am I doing it, to help him, if I'm stretching hamstrings to help him lean over to pick something up? Like, I think it's how you frame it, you
Yeah.
know. If I'm doing it just so he can get into a position for the gym, I mean, again, somebody please email me if they have another opinion. And totally, I'm serious, like totally open to it.
So you currently then have a line of demarcation that you're basically having to decide whether a client is going to be coming to you for their physical therapy. And we could talk about this probably on part two about how you market that. But in the gym you have specific interactions that are physical therapy, and then some that are strength.
Yeah.
And
Anything that's questionable, I'll kick to Andrew. You know,
what would you say is your primary business? Are you a strength coach predominantly who has PT services, or are you a physical therapist who has strength services?
a strength coach that provides physical therapy services.
And
Because I mean,
that's a more profitable or a better business model than the other way around?
the only way that you can be profitable with PT, if you're going to be in network of insurance, is volume.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I left the mill, like in order to just, because it was just, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not faulting the business I worked for. Like, they just have to do it that way to turn a profit. You have to see patients every 30 minutes and maximize your billing as much as possible, because reimbursement for PT is crap.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
And so you have to make it up in volume. And so, that's seeing patients every 30 minutes. But if you're the business owner, you need to cram more PTs in there too, so you can just really maximize your profits.
Right.
I don't want that, and Andrew doesn't want that. And
Yeah.
so we're taking it on the chin because we're seeing the insurance patients. We are seeing them on the hour, or I'm sorry, we're seeing them in an hour time slot, which is not very profitable. Like, it's, we should be probably be seeing 2 an hour. We've talked about maybe going to 40 minutes.
Mhm.
But part of it was just, we have that line in the sand of just, like, you just all of a sudden you start making these little
Mhm.
concessions, and before you know it, you're kind of creeping towards the rat race again.
Right. Right.
The goal with PT was really using it as a driving force to get patients into the gym. Kind
Right.
of, it's a low barrier of entry. If you're a Medicare patient, I mean, you've got a very low deductible, very low, a couple $100, I think it is off the top of my head, something like that, $250 or maybe $300. I can't remember exactly. It may have changed this year too. Haven't checked. But after that, like, they're not paying anything to come in. So that's a really low barrier to entry. The problem we're running into is that, to be honest, we're not getting a lot of conversion over from PT into the gym like I would like to see.
Mhm.
I think there's some different reasons for that. I think there's, we could probably market the gym a little bit better. I think, to be honest.